So how do we as Catholics balance the you can appreciate the item and the craftsmanship of it, the quality of it, um, but not get lost in materialism? Because I think that that's the ultimate balance, and I think when you're actually looking at the material side of watches, I think um, that is the balance.
I think it's kind of like if you can collect anything, which I think you can, whether it's sports cards or coins or um, watches. It's God isn't necessarily calling us to be Spartans living in like the simplest little room with like the simplest bed with nothing else. Like, God loves beauty. He created beauty, obviously. And I think it's good to be supportive of efforts to create and preserve beauty. And you can overdo anything, as I said. I mean, no one necessarily needs 3,000 watches, but having a collection, whether it's 30 watches or 50 watches or something else that you appreciate, you love, you take care of as well. I personally find more value in vintage watches because even the supposedly hyper rare modern watches, you kind of go online and you can see a ton of them for sale. So it's not like very special or unique. But God, as I said on another podcast recently, that was with this Catholic group called Amoris Christi, and Father Thomas Policall, who's they're based near Boynton Beach. When you're doing what God calls you to do, when you run, you feel his pleasure. So, that kind of relates to Chariots of Fire, which is one of my favorite movies. It's a Christian movie, but not a Catholic movie. But Eric Liddell was a great runner and he was a missionary as well, but his sister was like, running is like not important. Why were you doing something that's so unimportant? And then his dad and his dad's friend were like, no, God's given you a gift to run like as one of the fastest people in the world. So and he was like, yeah, when I run, I feel God's pleasure. And I think that can be part of this. Like God's given us resources not to waste. Like I personally think if you buy great vintage watches or collect whatever you're doing or buy a house the right way or whatever, you're being a good steward of what he's given. Of course, it's not like do all that and not help the church, not
Right.
help the poor and everything else. Everything has to be balanced. I'm not saying buy a watch and don't tithe. It's like you have to decide how you use the resources you've earned that God's given you. But I do think like collecting watches or collecting anything that makes sense can be an important part of your life. And it's like something you share with your kids. Like I have three young kids, but they know obviously that I'm a watch guy and they like looking at the watches and they'll inherit some watches one day, Lord willing. And it's a kind of a meaningful connection. And watches, of course, like they represent more than the watch itself and the people who made it. It is like at the end of the day being a good resource with the time God's given you. And there's a lot of metaphors in the world of watches, obviously. Um, we don't know when our own watch stops and we are gonna pass on to the afterlife. So we have to be good stewards. We don't know when I don't know when like the watch I'm wearing will need service, but you try to just take care of it the best you can, like taking care of your cars or home or anything else.
Thank you so much for your time and for listening and or watching. I hope that you found it fruitful, and if you did, I encourage you to share it with others. And if you feel called, I just ask that you like this, that you subscribe or follow, and finally that you support this in one way or another, be that just a simple prayer or monetarily, of course, helps me to continue to make these. Until next time, thank you again. God bless.